Welcome to this webcam, and today we are going to be talking about budgets. Or, as I like to say, are you in control or are your emotions? Yes, that's right. It's all about cash flow. Cash flow being one of the 3 C's that we cover in our course: cash flow, compliance, and contracts. Welcome to cash flow. What's cash flow all about? Well, it's mainly stuff coming in and stuff going out. And hopefully, if you're anything like me, then what comes in is a little bit more than what goes out. Or, as my budgeting guru says, give every pound a job. So every single pound that comes in has been assigned a job to do. So, like I said, it comes in and it goes out. Both of which we have control over. What comes in is dependent on what you bring in, as either swapping time for money, or contracting, or developing a product, or buying and selling stuff, Amazon or whatever, or yieldy corner shop, or services, and there's loads of other ways that you can make money. I'm sure you can name quite a few yourself. And the money goes out. That's probably quite similar to a lot of us as well. If you're anything like me, it's going to be rent or mortgage is the first thing that comes out. Certainly the biggest number. And then that follows by keeping that dwelling or shelter warm and safe. Shortly followed by food, and then we get some stuff at the end that we can do some fun stuff with. Maybe a fun for going out and things. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. Do get very excited. So, budgeting. What can go wrong? Running out of money before the end of the month. I know that I used to struggle with this quite a lot when I was younger. I'd get paid on the first of the month, and then by the time I got to the 14th of the month, I've got £1.50 left in my bank account. And there's still 2 weeks left to go. What the heck am I going to do for 2 weeks living on £1.50? But I've still made it. I got through that stage. I learned a lot of lessons. I grew up. The more common one as I get older, though, is being hit by an unexpected expense. So a friend of mine, they said, "Hey, you've got a few quid, haven't you?" And I said, "Yes. How much do you want?" It's that kind of friend, right? And they were hit with an unexpected expense to do with their car in this case. And that can hit anybody. I mean, I've been in a situation where you sit in the lounge and you can hear the washing machine rumbling away and you just hear a clunk and you go, "Oh." And your heart doesn't sink because whatever is in the washing machine might get ruined. It's that, here's a big bill. Am I going to have to buy a new washing machine? And another friend of mine, she's really good at this. She wants to save. So she gets some money. She puts it into her bank account. And it starts earning interest for about 2 weeks. And then by the time she gets to the end of the month, she goes, "Oh, well, actually, I need something. It's really important. It's an emergency." Something like that. And she'll take that money back out of the savings account. And so at the end of the month, the savings account's got the same amount of money in it as it had at the beginning of the month. So, trying to save, great idea, but actually dipping into it partway through the month. And a lot of this is caused by not knowing where your money actually goes. If you're not recording where it all goes, can you honestly tell me where it all goes? Sure, the big stuff's easy to account for. Like I said before, the mortgage and the food and the heat and light and the motor vehicle expenses. But it's not complicated. If you think about it, it's really quite simple. Just start small. I mean, the first thing is just start. But start what? Track your expenses for 4 or 5 weeks. Because whenever you spend some money, note it down. Like I said, the big things are easy. You've probably got direct debits set up, and that's fine. But do you know if those direct debits move? In a direct debit contract, it can actually change from month to month. Not like a standing order that you set up, which is for a fixed fee every month. Certainly, I know that my direct debits move. Quite recently, my water company sent me a bill, and my water's doubled. It went from £50 a month to £100 a month. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? But the direct debit just moved. Now, have I not been paying attention to that? I might have been 50 quid short at the end of the month and not known the wiser. So even if it's on a direct debit, just have a look. You've probably got online banking. Do a little check just to see how much it really is. And note that. But the stuff that really gets your budget going is the stuff that you don't really notice. That stuff where you just tap your card and you've bought, I don't know, fish and chips. I don't know. All of my expenses seem to be food related. You might have had to buy something incidental. Kids are going back to school and they need a new pencil case. £3.50 from your local hobbies and arts and crafts shop. And that's just £3.50 that you wouldn't even notice. But if you start writing these down, you will notice that they add up. That extra £500 that you don't know where it goes, but you don't have any month left when you've run out of money. That's the best feeling in the world. Because you know where it's gone, you've written it down. You know where that extra 500 quid went. And then you can decide. Don't change your spending by doing this. Just notice and track what you're spending. Once you know where you are, once you know what you're spending, you're then in a position to create a budget. After all, this is not about spending less. Because your money comes in, your money goes out. You can't spend more than you earn. Well, you can, but really don't do that. Habitually, you won't be. You'll be just going without for the next 2 weeks as the month works its way through to the next payday. But a budget is merely planning what you're going to spend the money on before you spend it. So rather than it being an emotional experience where you're in a shop and you go, oh yeah, that looks like a really good price for pot noodles, I'll get a couple of those. It's about having that budget where you've already got it written down. When you get paid, you've written down, here's £5 for pot noodles. Because that's what you always spend. You know you're going to spend that. And if you spend more than that, you can then look at the rest of your budget. Sorry, getting ahead of myself. Plan how you're going to spend based on what you observed. You've observed 4 to 5 weeks. You wrote it down. Now all you're doing is forecasting a little bit. You're saying, hey, I've got my money in for the wages this month. I'm going to split that up into little categories or envelopes or something else that you want to call it. And it's based on what you wrote down. I'm going to spend this much on food. I'm going to spend this much on school equipment. I'm going to spend this much on beer. That's your thing. But be sure to include all of the essential expenses. So not necessarily the bigger things, but those stuff that is essential, like for the food shopping. I mean, for me, I know that my food shopping can vary wildly from £75 one week to £120 the following week. And that's based on whether I'm buying toilet roll and bleach and cleaning product. Those more expensive things that you don't buy very often. So I do put those into a monthly budget, and so it kind of, works its way out eventually. But don't forget fun money. Fun money is really important. After all, what's the point of earning money if you can't spend it? And this is why I say it's your budget. It's based on what you want to spend it on. If you want to put £50 aside because you like to buy your favourite magazine or your subscription to Netflix, heck, do it. It's your money. Just make sure that you're deciding with your mind and not with your emotions that that's what you want to do with it. So make sure you have some fun money so that you've got a little bit to go at. You want to go to the coffee shop and have a coffee and a cake with your friends. That's okay. You've already put it in your budget. It's under fun money. And remember, stick to it as best you can. You've decided up front on what you want to spend this money on. But things can change. It's your budget. You can change it. If you really think that you got it wrong at the beginning, you can say, yeah, I've budgeted wrong. That's okay. It needs adjusting. To tweak a little bit. You are in charge. And it gets easier as the more things get reported. Those surprises will still happen. So, what do we need to do? We can review the budget as required. We can build up an emergency fund for those things that we know they're going to happen, but we don't know what they are. But it's always handy to have that buffer nevertheless. And in some of your categories, you should be quite rigid. It's very easy to say, right, I've got a fun money category and I've allocated myself £50 because that could be enough. That's a couple of trips to the coffee shop, that's buying my Netflix subscription, and that should be plenty. But if you find that, it's mine, I'm in charge, I'm just going to go, hey, £50, that's okay, I'm going to change that to £100 this month, and I'm going to take that £50 off of somewhere else. Maybe that's not okay. That's your emotions messing with you again. So you want to have some rules where you can be rigid on some categories and more fluid on others. Yeah, or flexible on others, as I put on the next tick here. So it might be useful to have a household bank, and you might want a personal spending fund. So I know this works for some people. Those direct debits I mentioned earlier. Why not have a bank account that you check periodically, because you need to, making sure those direct debits don't move too much, right? And once a month you pay enough money in there to cover all the bills that you know is going to come out, so that you've got your rent and mortgage covered, you've got your electricity and your water and your phone and your broadband and all that sort of stuff covered. About £900 a month, I don't know. Is that an average fee? Is that too small, too little? Depends on the size of the house and the size of the household, I suppose. But you pay that into that account once a month. That's what you've budgeted for. You then check that's how much was spent at the end of the month, and that bank can look after itself, and you don't have to worry about it. There's no temptation for you to take any money out of that account to spend it on something else. It's there, it's ring-fenced, it's in that bank account. You might find that useful. Another approach is kind of similar, where I said that fun money account, for instance, where you might want to spend more. There's a tendency to go, hey, it's my money. And if you're one that goes, have I got any money left? And you look at your bank balance to see how much you've got to spend, forgetting that you've earmarked some of that for school uniforms or for your emergency fund in case your washing machine breaks. Have a personal spending fund. Set up something like on Monzo. You can have one of those. It's on your phone. It's one of the newer banks. See all your transactions straight away. But just pay a certain amount of money in there every month, and you know how much that's budgeted. And instead of trying to find your budget and work out how much money you've got left in your budget, you can just look at that bank account and go, all of this is my spending money for the month. I could spend all of it today if I wanted to. Be a bit foolish maybe, but they've only got a week left on the month. Who knows? That's your personal spending account. You can spend all of that money, and you don't have to worry about the rest of your budget, your emergency fund and your essentials. They're all taken care of. So you might find that a useful way to go. There are some software and tools that I personally use that I find very useful for this. So you need a budget. It used to start off in the olden days as an Excel spreadsheet. And it's nothing more than what was your paycheck? What did you get on your pay slip, payday? Whatever that number is. Great, that's the total. Here's the columns: mortgage, motor expenses, petrol, groceries, all that kind of things, clothing. And all of that should add up to the number you just got in. And that's where you're deciding how much to allocate to all those categories. And then you do the recording as you were already when you started out this process. Yeah, I bought a jumper. Okay, mark that off of the clothing budget. And that should never go higher than what the budget figure is. So that's what the spreadsheet kind of looks like. It's a little bit more advanced than that. It's a web browser and also an app that you can install on your phone so you can see your budget in real time, how much you've allocated and how much has got left. Anyway, go along over there and give it a try. If you hit me up, I've got a trial code that will give you a month free, I think. Need to check that. But we'll put the link in the comments. And for my company, for those who know me quite well, I run a company. I'm a software consultant and contractor. And my company also needs a budget, right? Mine it's not just a personal thing. So my company also uses an app called Float App, and that helps me predict and allocate funds for the stuff that happens not very often. As a company, there's monthly expenses, and those are easy to budget for. But also, as a company, there's quarterly and annual expenses that you also need to make sure you've got sufficient funds for. And so I use that to make sure I'm in a good spot when those bills come in. They are expected, and therefore they can be planned for. So take control of your cash flow. Give each one of your pounds a job. This is how much has come in. Know where each one of those pounds is going as soon as that money comes in. Save for a rainy day and roll with the unexpected. If you've got a fund, a rainy day fund sitting there, and you get an unexpected bill come in, then you can, move the money around, take it out of your rainy day fund, handle that unexpected expense, and then continue to save in your rainy day fund. And increase the age of your money. What does that mean? Well, let me go into a little bit more detail. So the age of money is simply how old the money was when you spent it. Now, this can be quite tricky to work out, I gather, but YNAB does it. This is where I learned it from. And it's kind of a way of measuring your actual wealth. Because if you get paid today, how many days is it until you spend that money? That's true wealth. Is it a month? Yeah. When I first started on my earning journey, as I was pointed out, it might have been as little as 2 weeks. But now, I don't have to wait for next month's payday to come round because of my emergency funds and my other buffers that I've got set up. So in fact, when I spend money now, it's money that I've earned 3 months ago, 90 days ago. And that makes me happy because it makes me feel secure. I know that I could lose the contract that I'm on for 3 months and not really panic. I've got 3 months in which to, live on in order to get back to normal living, as it were. So increasing the age of your money gives you that comfort and security against stuff happening. The rainy day fund gives you the comfort and security against the unexpected happening. And giving each one of your pounds a job means you've decided ahead of time how much or where you want to spend that money. And so choices in a contract, like I said, are you ready to become a contractor? You've got a budget, you've got a company, and you want a contract. Come join us. We got a quiz that you can fill in so that you can see how far along on your journey of readiness you are. Here's what it looks like on the landing page. And we answer questions based on compliance, contracts and cash flow. Here's the link should you want to do that quiz. and we can speak again.